One Piece Chapter 1106. The cover page of One Piece Chapter 1106 on your side features Robin helping a crocodile with its fashion sense. We've got Robin and a crocodile working together again. The chapter starts right where the last one ended off, though we're zooming out a bit. The destruction of Egghead is intense. The explosions are so big that even ships far away can see it, including this new massive ship that's just now getting close to the marine blockade. That's got to be the one that wrecked Saturn's Kill the Refugee ship last chapter. They're finally getting close to the fight back on the island by the food machine. Luffy's had enough rest now that he's done taking in all that food. He sheds his massive body fat in just a second. The Marines are shocked by how fast he was able to digest it all. One even suggests that Luffy might even gobble them up if they get any closer, and hey, he might be onto something here. Luffy totally looked like he was trying to do that in his fight with Rob Lucci. In fact, between Big Mom and Kaido, eating people might just be some sort of Yonko tradition. One of the cannon blasts hits right by the Marines, knocking a member of their squad off his feet. The whole area is almost entirely engulfed in fire thanks to the Buster Call and the bombardment. They really need to evacuate, but they've also got to do something with Luffy. They've got one of the most wanted pirates in the world right there at their mercy. One Marine tells the others to get this Emperor into seastone cuffs, that way, they can make sure he's not a threat. But Luffy is smiling, his hair's changing, he's already back into gear 5th. As expected, these guys do not have a chance. Luffy's got his work cut out for him, though. The Marines are still firing on Egghead, their mid-Buster Call. Every cannon they've got is shelling the place round after round, even with some Marines still not evacuated. The artillery commander orders his men to keep firing into the blaze. They are not going to stop until the island is literally broken apart. And Bonnie, Kuma, Frankie, and Atlas are falling through the air. Vegapunk's still trying to process this, but he decides to do something. Using his communicator, Vegapunk calls Atlas. She's still in the air right by Bonnie and the rest. Saturn tells the Pacifistas to fire, and they keep charging their lasers. But the call gets through. Vegapunk wants Atlas to tell Bonnie something, a secret that only the Vegapunks know. Sanji jumped into the air, trying to do something to help, even if he hasn't had time to figure out what. Atlas reaches Bonnie and tells her the truth. Between the rush of air and the never-ending explosions, no one else could hear what was said, but Bonnie is obviously shocked at this news. She just looks at Atlas, not sure if she can even believe this. But the Pacifistas have almost finished charging, pulling their light right at their palm. There is no time to think about it, so Bonnie yells at them. She calls out to all these copies of her dad like they're the original, asking him not to shoot. She wants him to help her and her new friends escape instead. Bonnie looks down, hoping as hard as she can that this crazy idea actually worked. The Pacifistas don't seem to be listening, just standing there impassively, the light glowing in their hands. The watching Marines can't work out what she's even said over the explosions. Perhaps her message was drowned out, but no, the giant cyborgs turn around, pointing their palms right at their Marine allies. It took them a minute to process the order, but they heard Bonnie just fine. The ground troops are already trembling in fear. All the Pacifistas are following this order, even the ones far away from the fight. The bombardment ships have no idea what's happening, why are the cyborgs targeting them? But the Buccaneer clones are not providing answers. Instead, they just start blasting the Marine ships. Close to Egghead, they have no chance. One blast is enough to make them splinter and crack. There is no more evacuation chance for those men still on Egghead. That is just their first attack. Saturn doesn't look as shocked as his men. He's figured out what just happened. This has the Marines petrified, though the Pacifistas just keep on firing at every ship in the bay, blowing Marines away with every explosive blast. This battle has entirely turned around, but this was Vegapunk's last trick. With Bonnie sailing as a pirate, the idea that she'd end up killed by a pacifista gave the scientist nightmares. It was a cruel, dark joke that he couldn't just let happen. Vegapunk wasn't able to openly go against the deal Kuma struck with Saturn, but he snuck one last trick into his work. Bonnie is the real highest rank in the Pacifista's command hierarchy. This way, no matter what happens, the world government cannot force Kuma to execute Bonnie. Her orders will always outrank even those of the Gorosei. This could mean Bonnie is also able to command the Seraphim since they use a very similar command hierarchy. With 4 of them in the basement, the Straw Hats may have some powerful allies waiting for them. But even if it's strictly the Kuma-looking ones, that is more than enough to make the world government sweat. Bonnie being able to do this sounds like a crazy twist, something thrown in to get the characters out of this situation. But to be fair, Oda set it up over 40 chapters back. Remember when the Straw Hats just arrived on Egghead? Luffy, Chopper, Jinbei, and Bonnie ran into a pacifista. It was ready to shoot them just like this. Oda didn't really show us how the group dealt with that situation, cutting away to Law's fight with Blackbeard. By the time the story got back to them, the Straw Hats were out of danger. Most fans figured it was Bonnie's fruit that got them clear, aging the Straw Hats to make an impromptu disguise. That way, they wouldn't be recognized. But remember what Bonnie specifically said before the cutaway. She didn't want them to hurt her dad. She was speaking to the Straw Hats, but it looks like the pacifista took that as an order to not hurt her or the guy she was with. A ceasefire. And now we've got the logical endpoint of that. All the pacifistas going rogue since the ones that couldn't hear Bonnie are obeying her orders. They've clearly got some kind of internal communication system or command programming they can all access. The only conclusion here is that all the pacifista sisters are Bonnie's puppet, controlled from afar by the real Bonnie. This includes the Vegapunk clone, of course, who's the mastermind behind all this. Is Bonnie and Vegapunk somehow working together? We don't get to see Bonnie talk to the Vegapunk computer or even confirm if the scientist is still alive. But it's clear by the end of this chapter that they're working together. Bonnie has a connection to the Vegapunk clone they've been hinting at for years. But now we know just how far it goes. We still don't know how Bonnie even knows the guy. The last time the two were together was 17 years ago during the 2-year time skip. Bonnie told X-Drake she was looking for someone. Bonnie's current appearance with her larger build and her unique glasses makes her look kind of like a stylish scientist herself. Perhaps the two met when Bonnie was a little girl, and there's a good chance they know more about one another than we thought. For now, Bonnie's calling the shots, and the world government is in serious trouble. If they're smart, they'll surrender while they still have the chance. But Saturn is more of a suicidal type, and he's got a plan to take the whole island with him, even if he can't take out Bonnie. And that new massive ship in the bay is proof that his plan is already in motion. So that is quite the chapter of One Piece. Let me know what you think, and until next time, I hope you have an excellent day. Over the course of this series, I've been looking at many of the allies the Straw Hats have picked up over the years. Many of these groups have made lasting impacts on the Straw Hats and the world as a whole. Some of these groups have even become integral parts of the story themselves, and without them, the Straw Hats might not have made it this far. One of the most powerful and consistent of these groups are the Kung Fu Dugongs.